you're watching Talking Treasures and we're here at the Rockingham Hotel with the hotel manager, Dwayne. And Dwayne, you've got an interesting collection of old photos of the hotel. What can you tell us about them?
We sure do. There's a little bit of history there. The hotel's actually approximately 140 years old. This is our actual original jetty in the Rockingham area where early settlers actually used to come through there, but a lot of the logging and that sort of stuff, all the wood would come down on the beachfront there. They actually had a train coming out from the jetty, which that doesn't exist anymore. There is a jetty there. This here is the old hotel, which burnt down in 1927 and had to be rebuilt. Well, there's a veranda around the front. Which
is there anything left from the original?
I believe that the actual foundations, like as far as the rock and everything, and the limestone is still what we have here, but basically all the outsides, the roof, everything like that was replaced. These are some of your early settlers that used to come to the Rockingham Hotel, which was one of the only big country hotels in Western Australia that obviously was very successful. It had a huge beer garden and all that, which isn't there anymore. It's now a car park, where you can even see the old vehicle out the front and the old phone number on there, number 2. And there's your jetty with you know, your tourists and people coming from up in Perth and everywhere else around the world, and that's your railway line jetty, which no longer exists. I do believe they do have some of those sleepers and rails and bits and pieces at the museum. But yeah, there's a little bit of history there. Obviously, being younger, I wasn't around in those days, so...
So there's quite a bit of history for this place.
There sure is, and a lot of people talk about the history in the hotel even today.
Over a beer.
Over a beer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much, Dwayne.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm joined by Yvonne, and Yvonne has brought in a book of postcards. Now, Yvonne, tell me about your postcard collection. I take it this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, there's an awful lot more at home in boxes and yes.
And where are you acquiring postcards?
Friends, relatives who know of my hobby. I started when I was about 12 and an elderly lady gave me my initial collection.
I thought you were going to say then I started 12 as an elderly lady and I've only got older. No.
The elderly lady gave me her collection and I just fell in love with them, and then from then on they were easy birthday presents for me from family and friends.
Indeed. I mean, postcards are so prolific, they turn up all the time. Part of the reason for that is that we love to communicate, and postcards are part of communication. You've got the face of the card where invariably, at least for cards after the very earliest postcards, there is a picture and the message is always on the back. Where I've opened the album, which is almost at random to be honest, these are cards which speak to me of the reason why people keep postcards. Because there's images which are engaging. Here's an image of love really, between two, and then there's a message on the back where someone's actually written their own message, stamped it, mailed it, and put it in the mail to someone that they enjoy. And what a hand this person's got. I mean, it's a little hard to read, but it's a very nice looking hand, isn't it?
Yes.
What we'd call a version of copperplate. Did you acquire these knowing what they were, or did you just get these and think, now I can do a bit of research on them myself?
I didn't start doing any research until I got a computer about a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Prior to that, I just loved them. I just received them, and if I liked the look of them, they went in a book, and if they, you know, the ones I wasn't so keen on just stayed in little boxes, but and now I've got so many of each that...
Have you kept these in categories? Is that how you've subject divided your collection?
Yes, sort of, but it's not a very scientific process with me. I just put them in the groups, the greetings cards, the paintings of English country villages at the beginning, oilettes, I think they're called.
Oilettes, yes, they were. Tuck had a lot of series of cards.
Raphael Tuck.
Yep, indeed. In fact, I saw when I was looking through the album earlier, a lot of Raphael Tuck. You've actually got some of those very nice early cards in your collection. These pictorial cards, which are humour, which is an ongoing form, particularly the English postcard, the seaside card of ribald humour, but there's plenty of other humour besides. I just love them.
So do I.
They're just fantastic. And some of the people that produce postcards became quite famous within not only illustration, but within producing humour or producing cartoon strips, whatever the case might be. I mean, some postcards can be quite valuable, single cards being hundreds of dollars. Often they're the ones that relate to historic occasions or particular events. Not so much these ones that are produced in large sets and by large companies to be widely sold. But nonetheless, these postcards can be $5 to $20 each anyway, depending on what they are. So you're probably sitting on quite a fortune's worth here.
Oh dear.
Sold in boxes, of course, you don't get your money back at auction.
No.
but as sold as individual cards and illustrated and sold through the net and through eBay,
Yes.
you'll actually find you'll get good return on postcards.
Okay.
They haven't cost you a fortune to date, I take it.
No. Not these days, of course. Everybody's realising that postcards might be worth something.
Yep.
So I don't buy them at all. People, as I say, have been buying them for
Yep.
me. But prior to that, I acquired them from friends who had them. Oh, Gran's got some
Box, whatever.
box. Yes, I'll see what she's got.
Good on you. Good on you. Hey, in terms of your own collecting of cards, do you have a particular form of postcard that you just think, yep, that's me, that's postcards for me?
I love the photographs of towns and cities or villages of yesteryear, turn of the century, and seeing the way people lived. And there's one postcard in here that's Electric Street in a place in London, and the whole of the street, the photograph shows the lights above the
Poles?
the poles and
how
the shops lit up. And I think, that was so fascinating.
Yes.
They put it on a postcard.
Exactly right. Late 1890s, early 1900s.
Yes, that's right.
Electricity comes to my town. At last, we can actually see our way around at night.
Yes, and I love this one.
This card is fascinating. To think that someone had gone to the extent of producing a postcard in leather,
Yes.
almost an imitation of a postcard, but then to have actually mailed it, and the age of the stamp indicates that really this was put out in Canada in 1907.
Yes.
It's a very early postcard.
Yes.
And the colouring leather is not an easy act to do. So
No.
someone's spending hard and fast, good
Yes.
time and money
And
on
it's
producing.
lasted.
Absolutely, beautiful. Well, thank you for bringing this in. I trust that knowing that the postcards have intrinsic value of their own, which you already knew, but some of that intrinsic value is quite high, will enable you to put some more energy into organising your
I
collection,
will.
Yvonne. Yes, indeed.
And I'll take all the advice you give me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I did bring in a book that's out of my own collection, which is on the history of postcards in Australia. David Cook, who's the author, was a long-time collector of postcards, and this is kind of like the end of his collecting career, amassing his knowledge and putting it in a single volume. And he talks about what is for Australians often high points of postcard collecting. There are some issues around the First World War in here, particularly the American fleet visit, and some issues around Australian living, such as the plight of the Aborigines, which is often documented on postcards, and you have a number in your collection.
Yes.
These postcards are the important themes often for Australian collections, but it doesn't alter the fact of other collections that you might have as well that relate more to overseas situations.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for bringing them in.
Thank you.
Trust it proves a rewarding time for you to keep collecting.
Okay, and what have you got here, Carmen?
Well, I've got an old picture in an old frame. I got this given to me in Sydney 30 years ago, and at that stage I thought it was pretty old then. I don't know whether or not it was, or whether it's just a... But anyway, it's at least 30 years old because
Yeah.
I got it then.
You can see the surface of it is very flat. That
Yes.
there are no brush strokes or anything like that. If you actually got a magnifier, I think you would be able to pick up the screen. Just certainly from this period, anything that is reproduced would be photographed and blown up and would have like Ben-Day dots.
Right.
You understand that?
Yes.
It's doesn't look like Australia. I mean, I would presume
No, it doesn't look
that
Australian.
it's perhaps of European. But there is a name down here.
What's the name?
It looks like Robin.
Oh, yeah.
But it's being a reproduction, though, it is a thing which is of no great value.
Yeah.
it's even the original, but this was, it's a reproduction of a watercolour or a painting by somebody.
By Robin.
Even that original would not be something of great value. This is not a particular, artistic masterpiece.
Okay.
It's just a pretty scene. Yeah.
What about the frame?
The frame, it's just a cheap kind of typical frame shop job. There's nothing remarkable about the frame
So
at
that's
all.
not 100 years old?
It wouldn't matter if it was, but I would say the frame is probably 30s or 40s. It's what we call gesso, which is like a plaster over a wooden base. You can see where a little chip
Right.
has come off. They still do things like this. That's just a bit of paper off the back of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So out of the two, the picture's probably the more collectible bit than the frame.
Yeah, it's a matter. Yeah, the frame is of no great significance, nor is the painting either. It's just a matter of putting together the painting and the frame with someone who likes those things.
Right.
It would look a bit brighter if you
Cleaned it?
cleaned the glass. But to clean the glass, it's been behind that glass for a long while. There's dirt on both sides of the glass. You'd really have to take the painting apart.
I'd be too scared to.
Oh, it's not difficult. All you have to do is get those nails out with a pair of pliers and take the board out. Not complicated.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for watching Talking Treasures, a CTV Perth production coming to you from the Rockingham Hotel. Your experts today have been Matt Donnelly for collectibles, Grant Stone for books and toys, Jilly Hayes for jewellery and silverware, and John Stringer for fine arts. Tune in next week and find out some more about the history and the value of the objects that you at home have brought into us.